Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you like to hear someone talk about their pets, go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons down below because it's kind of what I'm here for. I know I haven't been uploading as consistently the last couple months as I have done previously in the year, and I'm sorry for that. It's the holidays and I'm a very busy person. So, something had to give. I need a little bit of a break, and I decided I don't make any money on YouTube, so that's the one I gave a break to. But I still have a goal of reaching 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We're getting close to that. I'm getting much closer to it, so I'm hoping to still make it, and we'll see what happens at this point. I know it's me who's failing you guys at this point, so it is what it is. Anyways, moving right along, today's video I'm going to be talking about this enclosure directly behind me. It is Keanu, my Argentine black and white Tegu's enclosure. I do have an enclosure tour video that I will either pop up here or link in the description down below for you guys to look at after this video if you would like. And that one's more of just like the enclosure tour. Now that I've had this enclosure set up for quite a while now, I'm going to be talking about a few things I've noticed about it. It is a Zen Habitat enclosure. It's 2 of the 4x2x2s put together, so it is 8x2x2. Obviously, never intended to be a permanent enclosure because Tegus do require a little bit more space than this. It is more or less a grow out enclosure. I absolutely love Zen Habitats. I have several other enclosures by them that I use for many other animals, and I love them, which is why I went this route with this one. I have my bearded dragon in one, my blue-tongued skink in one, and my sulcata, Tootie, he is in one. He's not permanently in his. He has an outdoor enclosure. He's just in it while it's cooler months or not appropriate weather outside for his size to be outside. Sorry, I'm like scrunched down into the camera today. Like I'm literally leaned over because this enclosure's on the floor, so I'm squirming. I'm a little uncomfortable. Anyways, I will say though that now that I've had Keanu in this enclosure for so long, there are a few things that I'm not a super big fan of for my Tegu. My other enclosures, they've been wonderful for, so I've seen the question pop up quite a bit on if people should use these enclosures for grow out enclosures for their Tegu, much like how I am doing. And there are a few things that I just wanted to note and make a video about to maybe answer some of those questions. The biggest issue that I've had, and it's still doable, it's totally working for us, like I'm not going to change it, that his next enclosure is going to be his permanent enclosure that we build ourselves. And we're going to choose, I probably would go with Zen if I could get it in the right sizes that I needed to fit the space it's going to go into, but we're just going to build that one ourselves, so stay tuned because this summer that is happening. Anyways, the few things that I have noticed that I wish were maybe done a little bit differently and that are not necessarily Tegu friendly are the substrate barrier is like number one. You can see right here that we've got a piece of round PVC that we cut a slit into to slip on top of the substrate barrier, and that it goes all the way across. Because my Tegu is very much like other Tegus, and they love to dig and make messes basically of their enclosures. And unfortunately with this substrate barrier, it works really, really well if you don't have someone who's going to be kicking around dirt like Tegus do. So the biggest issue is going to be that he was constantly filling the space between the door and the barrier with a ton of dirt. We have topsoil, cypress mulch, and that might be and some play sand in there. So every time we would go to open the doors, they would get stuck, and then all of this dirt would spill out, and then we were stuck having to clean up a mess every single time. It's not 100% effective of a fix, even with the PVC pipe, but it has cut that down quite a bit. I haven't done a cleaning on this one yet, so I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about in a second whenever I move in a little bit closer with the camera. So that is like the number one issue that I have. Maybe if you have a Tegu that isn't kicking around dirt constantly like mine does, I mean, that's pretty much natural behavior for them, but maybe if yours didn't, it wouldn't be an issue. The other thing that I'm not a super big fan of is the amount of substrate that you're able to put in here. At this point, Keanu is still, this is still an appropriate sized enclosure for him. However, because he's kicked out so much dirt and all of that stuff, he's not really able to fully burrow and stuff like he was when he was smaller, for one, and for two, the substrate barrier is only like 6 inches. So I pile up as much in the back of the enclosure as possible, but he's just not able to really burrow and stuff as much as he probably should be. Now it's only going to be a couple more months really before we start building his more permanent enclosure, or his permanent enclosure. So we aren't really changing that right now or anything. We're going to stick with this and stick it out, I guess. But that's the other thing. And honestly, I think those are the only two things. And it all has to do with like the substrate barrier. I haven't been on Zen Habitat's website for quite a while since I ordered this one. So I don't know if maybe now they have like taller substrate barriers. If they had like a 12-inch option, that would be phenomenal. That would be awesome. But I mean, I just don't know if they do or don't. At the time, the 6-inch substrate barrier was what they had. Oh, the only other issue too are the doors. Now I do have the acrylic doors. As you can see, they're very dirty because he kicks up so much substrate around and stuff. I can't keep the doors clean. It doesn't matter how many times I wipe them down or anything. I just can't keep the doors clean. And that kind of bothers me a little bit because I do like things clean. And they are the acrylic doors, so they are a little scratched and stuff just from him being a crazy Tegu. When he wants to get out and stuff, he usually scratches at the doors and whatnot, and then I'll let him out to let him wander around a little bit. But yeah, other than that, it's worked really well. Like I said, these are just little minor things that you should consider, and if it's something you don't mind having to deal with, like we don't mind enough to change it currently. This is a temporary enclosure anyways for him, so it's not a big deal to us. It's not a deal breaker. I would maybe do it like this again if I had another one, which I'm not going to get another one, but I wouldn't mind doing it like this again. I love their enclosures. I love how lightweight they are. I love how easy they are to deal with and clean and all of that stuff. But for this particular case, and because I've seen this question pop up in so many like Tegu groups and stuff lately, I figured I would throw the information out there on my opinion of it. So now I'm going to take you guys in a little bit closer and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So first of all, you can definitely see these doors and how either scratched up or just dirty they are in general. You can definitely tell from the previous video there's not nearly as much substrate as there was in here before. We've added some more in there here and there, but we just kind of stopped adding more in there and starting to try and push it to the back to give him that more deeper area. He currently is in here. He's burrowed right back there, underneath there somewhere. Probably most of his body's probably underneath that corkwood right there. So, I mean, that problem has been solved temporarily because, again, this is a grow out. It's not a permanent thing. And Tegus are just messy. They're just going to kick stuff around all over anyways. Which brings me to this one issue that I have is that here you can see it actually. I wouldn't be able to open these doors right now because this is what I was talking about. So even with this, it still happens. It's just not happening as often. Today he was digging around right in here. You can see where he was digging and kicking dirt at. It gets thrown up over this and then stuck between the doors. And then if I go to open the doors, which there's just enough cypress mulch wedged down here to where I can't open this one. I'm gonna have to open this one, get my vacuum cleaner, vacuum it out, close it, then try and push some of that over there to where I can do the same over here. But yeah, it just gets a lot of dirt trapped in between. Before we put the PVC here, which was a very inexpensive, easy solution, I'm not complaining about at all. My husband is a genius for coming up with that. He would literally have the dirt piled up over here, sometimes even overflowing that substrate barrier into his enclosure. Yeah, I could solve this problem by having less substrate in here. However, Tegu likes to burrow. I'm not going to use less substrate. There's already less in here than what I would love to have for him currently. I even tried solving the issue by making some areas for him to where he would feel like he had, I can't open this door to show you, but I think I can get into this one though. Yeah. So I even tried solving the issue by making him like some makeshift burrows or this large cork wood and stuff, so maybe he wouldn't try doing it as much, but it just didn't solve the issue. He just naturally wants to burrow. So yeah, those are just a couple of my thoughts that I thought I would share about the Zen Habitats whenever you combine 2 of the 4x2x2s and make an 8x2x2 enclosure as a temporary enclosure for your Tegu. As you can see behind me, these are some of the other enclosures that I have, and those have worked beautifully. I absolutely love them. I would 110% still recommend Zen Habitat enclosures for most of the animals and whatnot that I mean, definitely for any of the ones I have behind me or any of the ones I've kept in them before. This isn't like, don't get it. It's not saying do get it. It's telling you just the couple of issues that I noticed with having them with my little Keanu personally. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to check out some of my other ones and make sure you're following me. Thanks, y'all.